Hello folks, welcome back to the channel and thank you for joining me once again. Well, today is kind of a sequel to the Lightning review that I did a week or so ago, maybe a couple of weeks now. In that review we talked about the Airfix 148 scale Lightning F1, F2A, F3, I lose track of all the different versions. However, it wasn't my kit, and I mentioned that I was very keen to maybe get my hands on one day because it's reputed to be the best Lightning kit, and it was a good kit. I gave it a good review. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, you know. Considering it was made in '98, thought it was excellent. Anyway, two things that were missing. One is I didn't have the book Thunder and Lightnings, which I talked about extensively at the end, which I'll sort of show you. I mean, it's just a book, it's no pictures, but I have here a copy, which I'll talk about in a minute. Second thing is, we've never done, somebody actually said to me recently, about a month or two ago, somebody wrote a comment and said, you haven't done a review on the Lightning from Matchbox, it seems to be missing in your collection. Well, it's not actually missing, it's just the fact that I had a brand new one, a completely shrink-wrapped mint example, but one of the later 83 ones that doesn't have the window in the back. So I couldn't really unwrap it without affecting its value as a collector's item. And it's frustrating because I thought I had two of them, but I didn't. Anyway, I have now acquired, as you can probably tell, just to my right here, I've now acquired an original 1975 boxing of the Lightning, English Electric Lightning, or BAC Lightning as they call it, because that's what it was called in the mid-70s. BAC being the company, of course, British Aircraft Corporation, that my father worked for. So he was familiar with it, he used to work at Wharton. So it's very germane, and we've got beautiful in the background. I've managed to get my hands on an original 1997 boxing, so this is the first version of the boxing of the 48 scale kit, which was actually an Airfix kit. It's the F2A and F6 only this time, with the overwing tanks on the F6, but it's actually moulded for them by Heller in France. So actually, it wasn't actually moulded in the UK, it was part of this Heller sort of agreement that Airfix had. And there's a few went round, wasn't there, like that, like the Jaguar as well was another one. Anyway, if that's not exciting enough for you, I also have here Revell's attempt at the Lightning, which I think is the F6, yeah, I think that's the F6 as well, which is quite funny. In one of my earlier videos, I was giving hints and tips, and as I said, I'm not some great oracle and expert. There's areas I'm not comfortable with, so I only gave hints and tips on what I thought was useful and would help people and would work for me, but it wasn't a very wide-ranging thing, and I won't be repeating that. It was just a few specific ones. But one of the things I talked about was on the McLaren racing car, the MP46 Ayrton Senna, where I'd actually avoided painting the white plastic because the plastic was so good that you just didn't need to bother. And I said, you know, don't make life hard for yourself, etc, etc. Oh dear. Here is the opposite example where I was bone idle, didn't paint the kit, and I really should have done. I'm going to bring you in so you can see this. We'll get this out of the way at the beginning. Now, it's a nice kit. I didn't put the overwing tanks on for whatever reason, but I left holes in the top of the wing, so that's not a very good start, is it? As you can see. But the finish on the Revell kit's actually quite good. The plastic finish is really excellent. But what's not so good, as you can probably see, is all this graining within the plastic. Although it's beautiful and shiny and silver, it's not great, is it? You know, it's not really right. I should have sprayed this with some, you know, metallics and got the proper job done. You know, I've done other bits of detailing that are spot on, like the nose, but this is not my finest hour in model making, if I'm being brutally honest. So, you know, don't take me too literally what I said. Only, as I did say actually, only do this thing where we, you know, try and avoid painting if it's not necessary. But you can only get away with that if the plastic is right. And you can see here, lots of graining and stuff going on in this plastic. It's just, you know, the different, it's kind of the melt rate of the different pellets have gone at different rates. You end up with a perfect finish. There's no reason why it won't give you an excellent finish if you spray it. But, you know, I should have really made a bit more effort, so shame on me. So do as I say, not as I do. Okay. It's a shame because actually it's not a bad kit, you know this. Not a bad kit. But anyway, we'll compare that with the Matchbox from what I recall of building it, and we'll see how the two look. There's a lot of raised panel lines on this, I should warn you, which isn't great. I think this is from a late 70s, early 80s version. Anyway, the good news is we're going to look at this Matchbox, the missing kit, you could say, from the range that all those Matchbox reviews I've done. That's the good news. The bad news is, I'm very sorry, but the big, beautiful, original Airfix is still shrink wrapped, as you can see. Because of that, I'm afraid I'm not going to open it. Now I can tell you what's inside. It's identical in 95% of the kit is absolutely identical to the one I reviewed. But I know for a fact, see how it's completely sealed. It's original from the factory. And it's just got a plain reverse, which is a bit boring. But at least the artwork on this one is much nicer. And this is, I'm going to say, what kit number is it? Kit number 09178. 09178. But the artwork is much nicer, much more dynamic, you know, more suitable for Lightning, I think, especially a late one, in the light grey, sort of light sea grey. I never get it right, but the light grey anyway. A really nice kit. But apart from the overwing tanks, there's not a lot of difference from the other kit that we saw. They just added it on the sprue. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The refueling probe, I don't think that was in the original. So this is the original, but in the earlier review. But of course that was actually a kit made a year after this. So this is the original and best. They're very hard to get hold of, and obviously it's got a little tiny hole in my cellophane wrapping, and it has got badly dished, but you saw the other one was the same. The boxes were really poor, I've got to say. But as that is a minter that's sealed, sorry folks, I think I'm going to have to leave it like that really. But take my word for it, it's the same kit, just with the tanks basically. And, there may be one or two other little bits on the top that are different, nothing significant at all. And you'll also notice it hasn't got the guns on the top. That'll be one other thing, it'll just be the blank version of the cowl. So, different later, I think it's RAF Binbrook markings. Apart from that, pretty much the same. So, I'm afraid I'm going to just tease you with this and then take it away from you. She's very cruel, I know, sorry about that. Never mind, let's get into something we can see and let's zoom you in. So, Matchbox. We love them, don't we? Now we're right back to the original version, BAC Lightning from 1975. BT's £1.35. Now that tells me that this was actually being sold around about early 80s, I think, to have that price. If you look at the artwork on here, it actually says on the front, in August 1970, Lightnings of 74 Squadron flying standard air patrols and refuelling night and day by Victors of 214 Squadron successfully intercept Canberras and Vulcans, and if you look in the background you can see there's a Vulcan there. So they're pretending to be the enemy. So successfully intercepting Canberras and Vulcans during exercise Pursuit to Purdue. 5 nations took part in Singapore and Western Malaya. So they were out in the Far East on exercise, and I know that Singapore had Hunters. I think they may have had Lightnings as well later on, so this is probably a bit of a technology demonstration trying to sell the Lightning to them as well. So we have here, it's PK114. On the side, as ever, we have the artwork representing what it will look like if you don't paint it, and it's got its overwing tanks on, which always look very strange, don't they? On the other side, panel, in true Matchbox style, we've got information saying it's 3-colour kit, Messerschmitt 410, which we've reviewed, the Stuka, which we've reviewed, JU87, and the Lightning, which we've reviewed. So we've seen all those already in my video back catalogue, and if you'd like to see any of those reviews, don't hesitate to pop back and look at my channel. Subscribe first if you haven't already, and have a look at the back catalogue, you'll see all these. On the reverse, we have got the true original window. And by the way, this kit has literally just arrived about an hour before shooting this video, so it's brand new, hot off the postman. Number 74 Squadron, Singapore, August 1970. Slight discoloration of this box. It's not only slight, it's just where it's been sitting on the surface, I think. And then we've got RAF Gütersloh in Germany, number 92 Squadron, and this has got the later dark green sort of German RAF camo style. So you've got the sort of original style here, and he's got the overwing tanks, and there's no overwing tanks on this German-based one. But if you want to, you can have them, of course. So let's have a look in the box and see what we've got. I'll wind you out a bit, and we can have a little nosy. This is always a bit of a moment of anticipation because it's an original, and it's the original and best, not the Rebox version from later. And very gentle. Let's see what we have. Very gentle indeed. Oh, no loose parts. That's always a good sign. Put that there. We have the ubiquitous Matchbox stand, and there's a bit missing actually. The ball cap that actually goes in the aircraft doesn't seem to be there, which is odd. Oh, there it is. Yes, we have it. Okay, it's just sitting on the side. So put that safely to one side, and we have 3 sprues. We've got a very pale grey one, a black one, and a white one. So, and some rather crinkly looking decals, to be honest, which is to be expected. Now, we've also got the refueling probe about to leave the sprue. I'm very careful with that. So we got our instructions are in white. Let's zoom you in for this so you can see them properly. Not orange, which it should be really, but I do believe that this was a very late issue in '75, so they did start going to this white. And it says, resulting from an experimental aircraft for a supersonic research plane, the P1 prototype had obvious possibilities. Full operational use, and the P1A was the basis of the F-23/49 and was issued in September 1949. Now the first flight of the Lightning was August 54, I think I said that in my other video. It could achieve Mach 2 in level flight and had phenomenal rate of climb, which I think, interesting point to just make here. There's a couple of videos you can watch on the Lightning, some black and white stuff, BBC 1950s, but one of them I was watching and it said, oh yes, and the Lightning can do 50,000 feet per minute, and I thought, no it can't, no that's a missile. Now they was exaggerating slightly there. 20,000 feet per minute is the correct figure if you check it up, which is still really fast, I mean just stupid. But I don't know where the BBC got their numbers from, but somebody had written it down wrong I think, because 50,000 feet per minute is more like a ground-to-air missile sort of rate of climb, yeah, not a proper aircraft. Anyway, it goes on to say, the Lightning was developed in several variants over the years, and the F6 was started flying in June '65. These machines having much greater range and also equipped for in-flight refueling. So there you go, we've got the refueling probe that isn't on the early models. The F2A version uses the same airframe but has 2 30mm cannons in the upper nose section. A wide variety of armament can be carried, and several export versions were available. So there we go. On the back, typical Matchbox, we've got their little small parts colour call-out guide, telling you how to paint the wheels and the gear legs, pilot, the surround for the canopy, then the engines and the missile, the red top, the exhausts, intake, the surround for the afterburner rings, and then you've got a little plate underneath, and the Fire Streak missile, which is the optional other missile. I think Fire Streak came later. The red top was the early one, Fire Streak was the later one. So F6 I think has the Fire Streak. And then the sink. Anyway, opening it up, usual thing, it's just got the little basic guide to the colours you're going to need, and then we get into the instructions, which seems very faintly printed on this one for some reason. Okay, so basically you've got your 2 fuselage halves. You bring your pilot into his seat and pop him in with a control stick into a little tub. Then you trap it all in together, 2 fuselage halves go on, and then we have your engines, or the jet pipes at the back go in, complete with afterburner and the outer rings, put it on your canopy, your option for having the cannons or not the cannons depending on which version you've got, tail planes go on, then your main gear, and it's got very beefy gear on the Lightning. Not doing very well, have I? It's got very beefy gear on the Lightning, as you can see. Sorry about the faint printing, it's almost like it's faded. And then the F6 version only has the overwing tanks, of course, which you then put on top. So I guess if you don't have the overwing tanks, you should not do what I did, and you should fill in those holes with a bit of filler. And anyway, then your wings are going into the fuselage, like so. And then you're putting on your fire streak or red top, depending on which one you're going for, as the later fire streak for the F6. Oh, it actually says F2A version fire streak. Is that the right way around? I'm not sure it is. I think they might have got that back to front. I think F2A is red top. Anyway, let's just do some research. And then at the end, we've I'll just zoom you back a bit. At the end, we have got all the ancillaries going on, the undercarriage and the doors, gear doors, and finally your refueling probe, which is the part that looks like it's about to depart from the sprue on this one. It's fine, a little bit fadey, isn't it? I don't know why, but there we go. Now then, some decals. Oh dear, yeah, these have seen better days, I think. But it's surprising how often these Matchbox ones, it's always the cover tissue that fades and looks absolutely foul. But the actual decals are often fine if you're very gentle. And sure enough, look, just a gentle bit of pressure, and that is coming away nicely. In fact, I will peel this off because it will do no favours to leave it on. It's not protecting it, it's just bonding to it. So I think we're just going to do a little bit of work and remove this very gently and just take it away altogether. There's been a bit of damp here because it's doesn't take much, of course, for these to trigger. It's just curled a bit, hasn't it? So it's not damp, perhaps just a little bit of moisture in the atmosphere, perhaps condensation, or there we go, coming off. It's all working nicely, nearly there. There we have it. So I think I might keep that just as a souvenir, but now it's going to be far better to not have that on it. And I say it's curled, but probably because of humidity in the atmosphere. But the actual decals are all right, I think. I think with a clear coat over the top of those will be absolutely fine, to be honest. So, excellent decals. They're always nice and bright, aren't they, Matchbox? Very clear, sharp. So, let's have a look at the actual kit then. Starting with this very delicate one, which is the black sprue. So I'm going to get that out of the way because I'm going to have to be super gentle with this and hold it like that, I think. Like so. Right, here we go. So I'm going to hold it in a certain way, so forgive me if it's not the best viewing. And what we have here, we have got our fuel tanks, overwing fuel tanks, strange there they are, and the pylons on which they sit. Then we've got our red tops, missiles here, and to the right of them, the fire streaks, later ones. We've got the intake cone here, the nose cone. We've got the afterburner pipes, well, not jet pipes I should say. You've got your wheels, which aren't very detailed, it has to be said. Oh, they've got more detail on the other side actually. Yes, there we go. The wheels are a bit better on that side. Sorry, I can't move my hand much. I don't want this part to come off. And oh yeah, we've got the other side of our fire streak and red tops. The other way around, it's red top here and fire streak on the left. And you've got your seat, the other one that looks like it's about to come off the sprue. Reposition it as it should be. And we've got a couple of gear legs at the other end. So I'm going to put that down very gently. Oh, and of course you've got the tub there, sorry. You've got the tub here for the actual cockpit. And yeah, looks good. Looks good. Don't want it to break. Right, now this is a bit more robust. Here we've got the main fuselage sprue, and as you can see it's in this rather strange pucey sort of pale grey, very odd. Looks like pale grey with a hint of cappuccino in it, to be honest. Not sure if that comes out the same on the camera, but there's quite a lot of raised panel lines on it, which is a little bit disappointing. Some of it's mainly raised actually. Some of it's engraved, recessed. Some of it isn't. It's a bit of a mixture. Yeah, it's quite a lot of raised. Slightly disappointing, but that was definitely the way they did things back then. Here you've got your, just a closer look for you. There we go. You see what I'm talking about? Yeah. But the details, lots of detail in it, rivets and all sorts, really good in that respect. You know, it's not been skimped on. Looks okay, really. I just leave the raised panel lines if you're going to get this kit. Here we've got the Canon or the non-Canon version for the cowl. We've got tips here for, I was going to say for the, oh sorry, it's the fins, sorry, the straight fins that go underneath the pod here, and the camera's having a fit. Don't know why. Let me get some more light on this. Boost the light a bit. Is that better? Yes, I think it is. Yeah, the fins just go underneath, and then you've just got what looks like a pitot head, aerial, and there's an arrestor hook. The Lightning had an arrestor hook, something I didn't actually know. Didn't realise that actually. So we can learn something every day. As we say, every day is a skill day. That looks very nice. It's good, you know, and it's a decent condition, that one. Then we've got the canopy, and this is in pretty good nick, good condition. Look at that. That's original, nice and clear, and yes, it's quite a groovy looking canopy on the Lightning, I think. And then finally we have got the wings and the tails. So we've got, it's basically like an insert, which I quite like it when they do this, because although you can get gaps if you're not careful, at least it seats properly, and the Matchbox ones are famous for seating well, going in well. So that's good. So you've got your top wing and bottom wing, so to speak. That's the top. That obviously is the underside with the cutout for the wheel well. And then you've got your tail planes here, elevators, and the full moving tail planes, of course, on the Lightning. And then you got your covers for your gear wheel well covers, and your nose wheel is there as well. Now again, I have to say it's mainly it's raised panel lines, which is a little bit disappointing. But there's some good detail. I mean, look at these. It's got like fuel caps and things. Look, see that? If we can get the camera to do its job. Come on, Mr. Camera, what's your problem? There we go. Well, they're quite nice detail though, isn't it? You know, they've got some fine detail and little grills and vents, and all the panel lines are there. And you've got your elevators there at the back, hinges. That's good. It's just a shame it's raised panel lines, because I'm pretty sure the Lightning wasn't having raised panel lines. I don't think it would manage Mach 2 if it had that sort of drag holding it back. Anyway, so for the kit then, the Matchbox kit, what would I give it? Well, raised panel lines are a bit of a no-no, aren't they? I'm afraid that's a bit of a, it's going to lose a couple of points, I think, for that. Other than that, it's nice, got a nice box, you know, it comes with two versions. So I quite like it, it's a nice kit really. It's just the raised panel line, so it's going to be 8 out of 10. Probably a bit on the generous side if anything, but it's good, it's not a bad kit at all. It's got, you know, missiles, it's got lots of animation to it. It's got a stand, which, you know, why don't Airfix do it today? Airfix? Come on guys. They were asked recently in a live show about, I won't name names or anybody, but the news coming out of Airfix was basically that they're not going to do stands or dioramas, and I think this is just a stupid mistake they're making, because they would really corner the market in 172 for both the armour with the diorama and the aircraft if they put, you know, dioramas in the tanks and stands in the aircraft. And I cannot understand why they are so resistant to this. I think it would really put them in a stronger position, and, you know, it would make them the first choice, I think, for a lot of modellers. With the quality of the actual kits as they are, they just added that dimension. It just gives something extra to the modeller, especially the younger modeller, you know, the less experienced. Gives them another reason to buy the product. So I don't understand it. Anyway, so there we go, Matchbox, nice kit, 8 out of 10. We're going to just carefully shuffle that back, if you would bear with me 1 second. I have to be very careful. I'm going to leave the one that looks like it's damaged and coming off the sprue. So I will probably very craftily re-glue that back in so that it doesn't fall off, because we don't want that to happen. We like to try and keep it. I just put a little tiny spot of extra thin, quick setting. That'll probably fix that for us. just pop those in there, and we will call that a day. At least the box is in good condition, which is a miracle. If you'd have seen the actual condition that the outer box was in, it looked like it had been stamped on. How this is not damaged, I'm very lucky. There's a little bit of a scuff there, but I think that was there before, to be fair. I bought it from somebody on eBay. It wasn't cheap. It was £30, okay, which is a lot really, I think. And it was £1.35. Talk about inflation! Anyway, we'll pop that back there, and we'll leave that other sprue on the side. I just want to talk about the Jan Mark book, Thunder and Lightnings. Now, the only disappointing thing about this particular one that I've got in my hand is this is one of the later editions with the picture of the lightning. But the early editions had a much nicer picture, and it was a picture like artist's, artwork, impression, like a cartoon almost, of the two young boys that are in the story. And it's really this young boy called Andrew, who moves with his family to Norfolk, near Coltishall, and he meets this young lad called Victor, who's got these learning difficulties, but is an absolute genius on anything to do with aircraft. He knows all about aircraft. He's only about 8 years old, and he's particularly a fan of the Lightning, and he's totally obsessed about Lightnings. Okay, so this relationship between these two young lads develops because Andrew feels very he's a complete new boy in a new area. It's that horrible feeling. I've been through this personally in that part of the world as well, at that sort of time that this was all going on. So I very much identify with this book and the two youngsters in it, because that was me back in 73, okay, 72, 73. And you're a newcomer, you're in a new school, everything's weird, and you've got no friends, and blah, blah. And then you've got this Victor character who's also got no friends because he's a bit weird, or that's what people think. But this young lad Andrew, who moves in with his family, he realises that he's really a very interesting young guy, and they become good friends. And they go looking at the Lightnings at Coltishall and watching them, and it gives all these anecdotes and experiences about these two young boys and the fun they have during the summer holidays especially. And one thing that's missing, I mentioned about the artwork, it shows the two young boys in the original artwork, and this is the one that was on Jackanory back in about 1973, autumn of 73 I think it was. And on this artwork, it had the two young boys in Victor's bedroom, and it had all these model aircraft suspended from the ceiling. And he has this, he has this torch, and he has this thing where he tries to recreate the bomber's moon, and I think he has like a lamp with like cutouts in it for different effects of the moon, and he has these bombers flying through the clouds. He's got the clouds painted on his ceiling, and it's fantastic. Really, it's just. It's the sort of thing that a lot of us had, suspending our little model Spitfires from the ceiling. And it's a charming book, this. It's a brilliant book. It will take you back to your childhood. If you're like me and you're a kid of a certain age and you love models and you love aeroplanes, you've got to get this. I tell you what, you'll love it. And you can read it in a weekend. It's only got, less than 200 pages. And it's very easy reading because it's aimed at children. And yet, it talks about the operations of the Lightnings and the experiences they have watching them and doing research and to do school projects about it and all this kind of thing. And then at the end, right at the end of the summer holiday before, I think they're going to be split up because they're going to go to different classes or something the next school year. And the final insult, of course, is that they go on the last day, I think it is, of the school holiday, to watch the Lightnings, and unfortunately, no, the Jaguars appear and come in one by one, and the Lightnings are going to be retired. And poor Victor is really upset about it. It breaks your heart, you get quite emotional. And he won the Carnegie Medal for Literature. This is how good the book is, so that tells you. And it says on the back, Victor was the oddest boy that Andrew had ever met. How could he be so dim in school and yet such an expert on aeroplanes? As their friendship grew, Andrew became more and more worried. What would Victor do when he found out what was going on at the local air base, and that what was going to happen to the Lightnings that he loves so much? It's like taking children's toys all off him on Christmas Day, and that's basically what happens. The Jaguars arrive, which he thinks are horrid because they're not really fighters, and his world collapses, and it's very moving, and it takes you right back to your childhood. So it's Thunder and Lightnings by Jan Mark. It's available from Penguin. Jan Mark sadly passed away now, but it was a wonderful piece of literature, and £4.99 is all it cost me. You know, from it's Puffin. Oh, it says Puffin and it says Penguin.com. A bit confusing, but anyway, all that stuff about, you know, helping your mum and dad, you know, at the weekend when they're wanting to do the garden, and your friend wants to go to see the Lightnings, and you know, there's trouble, you know, and Victor has problems with his dad, he doesn't really appreciate him and stuff like that. It's a very, very good piece of literature. I recommend it to you very highly. Anyway, several people that I mentioned when I mentioned it before in the first Lightning's Airfix Lightning review, 2 or 3 of you said, "Oh yeah, I've got that book. It's brilliant. You know, yeah, good call. You know." So it's great that other people have read it and know what I'm talking about, and obviously feel the same way about it. So if you love the Lightning, get the book. Get the book. So that's Thunder and Lightning's the book. Okay. And that's it for today. Sorry I couldn't show you the big one, but you have seen it basically. It's the same kit inside apart from those overwing tanks. But I hope you enjoyed talking about the Lightning a bit more. I was quite surprised, hadn't intended to do the second video, but people seemed really enthusiastic about the Lightning. There's a lot of love for it, even, you know, not just in the UK but all around the world. I think that people recognise it was something quite special, and a real hot rod of an aircraft if ever there was one. And in some respects, until the F-15 Eagle came out from the States, I don't think there's been anything really as impressive as a fighter plane until the Eagle arrived. I think it was kind of unique, for certainly in the 60s. Something that was born in 1949, basically. It's astonishing, you know, that something so incredible could have been British as well, entirely British. It's no wonder it's sold, you know, it's sold to Singapore and Saudi Arabia, and lots of countries bought it. Anyway, we're done. Anyway, so back to the kit, 8 out of 10 for the kit. I trust that you will give me 10 out of 10 by giving me a thumbs up though. And please subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video and you found any of this talk interesting. If you have already done so, then don't forget to ding the notification bell, because that'll give you advanced warning of the next video that's coming up. And if you've done all that, then just leave a comment on what you think. Tell me if you built the Matchbox Lightning, because we've now sort of ticked a box there and we've got that done finally. After a year or two, and it's been missing from the range of interesting kits that I've done reviews on. And until next time, I'll just say to you all, thanks very much for joining me. Hope you all stay safe and look after yourselves. And in the meantime, thanks a lot, and bye for now.